everyone, and welcome to the American Scouser Podcast. Another Monday night. We are back in action as a trio. So this has been a while. Bickler and his stash is back in action. So all three of us are here. Things are overall looking good, but a lot to talk about. I am your host, as always, Timuchin here in Chicago. I'll do the weather update. Nothing really. It's just freaking like end of November. It's like typical Thanksgiving weather. There's no snow or anything like that. So got to be thankful for that. The girls are on the way home. Layla will be here shortly. Jasmine will be here tomorrow night. So the Thanksgiving festivities will be taking place on Wednesday over here at the Uras household. So I got to schedule stuff around, celebrate the pilgrims and all that good stuff. Gally is in the house. Gally, what's happening?
I need an update. Why is Thanksgiving on Wednesday?
Because of that, like schedules and stuff, like work schedule, that for one, and then Jazz this way can attend another Thanksgiving too, so it's like a 2-in-1. But more importantly, it was Layla's work schedule more than anything else, so we had to kind of shuffle things around. But hey, as long as they're here, and then actually Jazz gets to come back and stay with us for another week before she heads on to our new job and everything like that. So yeah, good time, exciting times at the Uras.
Well, those rich people in Chicago need to have that hostess on that beautiful deck up there. After seeing what it takes to just like the fact that you had to get greased through just to get up there and have a cocktail makes me know you needed to know somebody. So, if we're gonna put her to work on Thanksgiving night, it is fair that you guys are eating on Wednesday. I'm happy to hear it.
And Bickler is here. Bickler with the big Thanksgiving plans, I'm assuming. Are you cooking in that little pot in the back on Thanksgiving, or how's that work at the?
We celebrate, the Native Americans providing for us shortly before we took all their land on our normal day. I've got lots of taters in the works. Hopefully someone besides me will be peeling them, but it will probably just be me.
What are you doing? Just mashed potatoes or something? Why are there so many
potatoes? Turkey. I'll get like a little tiny little spiral ham thing going. Probably, I don't know. I'll probably make some greens just so the boys know the nutritional value of like a vegetable.
So they have something to push around on the plate.
Exactly. Right. Yeah. So they got something to get back to me to put in the trash. Yeah.
I literally would be like, I'd be like, can't we have corn? And my dad would be like, we're not having more starch. We're not having more starch.
Starch it up. That's what the nap is for.
And people gathering on Thursday, Alan, Ryan, Blake, Wintry, Minnesota. I'm assuming BJ is in the house from Florida. Hey, if you're following right now, hit that like, subscribe, and all that kind of stuff, the thumbs up and all that. And then if you're following us on Spotify, listening to us there, thanks a lot, first of all, or iTunes, I guess, wherever you listen to your podcasts. Head on over to YouTube, give us a like and a subscribe. We're almost at that coveted 1,000 number that we've kind of like set for ourselves this year, but we got like a bit more than a month over here. We should be able to do. A lot has happened while you were gone, Bickler. A lot has, we made some adjustments,
Fortunately,
changed some things, and we have brought back what everybody has been asking for, trivia. So welcome back, buddy. Welcome back. And I was looking forward to, I saved this question for you because it's one of those that you can ask like a multiple follow-up questions to. Last week was pretty nice and basic. This week, not as much. Okay, with the Real Madrid game coming up next on Wednesday, this is going to be like this is easy. I'm going to ease you into trivia, Bickler. Gally already suffered last week, so it's kind of your turn. How many times have Liverpool and Real met in the Champions League outside of the knockout stages? At Anfield. How many times have they played at Anfield outside of the knockout stages?
Okay, so group play at Anfield is
whatever they played, divide by 2. Shit, it's not that hard. Come on.
I was just gonna say. I have no clue.
I'll go 6 times.
6 times. Gally.
I was gonna say 4.
Okay. The correct answer is actually 1.
Oh, wow. Okay. Off to a good start. Close.
Oh, I'm sorry. Just the 5th time doing so at Anfield. Only the 2nd time at Anfield in a match before the knockout stage. So we've only
it's
met
basically
once. This will be the 2nd game.
plus the 1.
Yes, so this will coming up on Wednesday. It's going to be the 2nd time ever that we actually faced them at Anfield outside of knockout stages. I guess we were only in the group once. Blame BJ, numbers are not accurate. At that time, I'm going to tell you the game now. It was in 2014.
Yeah, it was Brendan Rodgers. The one Champions League appearance where I know the one in Madrid because I'm flying on my way to a conference and I'm watching it in the airport and I'm losing my ever-living mind because Steven Gerrard's sitting on the bench so John Joe Shelby can start at the Bernabeu. What happened in the home leg? I have no fucking clue because I know that I basically gave up on Brendan Rodgers and wanted him fired in Madrid. Sorry, I digress.
So that was actually the toughest part of the thing. You guys should be able to get this. Obviously, you already spilled the beans that Gerrard came in afterwards and grabbed the captaincy, finished the game as captain. Who was in goal? Come on, Bickler, you got this. I have faith.
Simon Mignolet.
Yes, Mignolet was in action. October 22nd, 2014. And the final score was?
4-1. I don't know.
3-0, unfortunately. Defeats in 3-0 at home, which at that time, I guess still, if you don't count the 5-2, if you count 5-2 better, was like the worst score against them. But hopefully this Wednesday, things will be different. So we'll get to this Wednesday and obviously the next week. But before we get into that, let's get this out of the way because it's just going to make me throw up in my mouth even more. Already had to address it this morning. The Mo contract situation, Mo going over to the Anfield rep and saying, like, you guys want to talk to me? I want to talk to you. And spilling his guts and saying he has not had an offer. Nobody has talked to him, not as him yet, made an offer. And he's disappointed. He loves the city loves him, and he loves the city. I think I already said that. Okay. Worst defeat at Anfield for European competition at the time. That's pretty rough. But like I say, we'll get to that. Bickler, let's start with you. Your thoughts on the whole ordeal. I think we've talked about this contract situation in terms of, why we are here and all that kind of stuff now. But based on this latest events, what is your take on it?
My take is it feels like Groundhog Day. Like I woke up this morning and saw this, and it felt like 3 years ago when we did this. And it's just so it's like an election cycle now. I know it's going to happen. I look at Discord. Kazi's going to be worried about fans turning on ownership. Brock's going to be wishing for a bunch of things for December without saying the word Christmas. It's the same thing every year. I guess my thought on this is it just is like a player positioning himself for leverage, is what it strikes me as. It strikes me as a player who's leveraging and trying to get movement on a contract. And it doesn't really strike me as anything else. And I think I've noticed the more that I've, it's kind of what is this, 25 years of following the English Premier League. And the more I interact with Brits online and people that really follow football in Europe, the more I realize that Americans seem to be the only ones that are used to players and what happens to players during a contract year. Because I don't know if it's because we deal with it more in Major League Baseball or National Basketball Association or National Football League here. But we all know, we all see these games that are played through the media over contracts. And we all know that players play their fucking pants off in a contract year. And so I don't know. To me, it just the fact that he's only stopped in the mixed zone 3 times in his entire career and he chooses this week to do it. I think the thing that annoys me is the timing of it. I understand why he does it. I don't mind that he even does it. I just mind the timing of it.
That's actually a good point. I never thought of that, but my guess is it's because sports is more about and has been more about nothing but money. Players have been a lot more professional over here, whereas with the big money now in the Premier League, maybe they're becoming more and more. I think we're going to become more and more used to it as it becomes more commercialized too. I think we're almost a bit more numb to it, I think, in the US because what? Another contract dispute. He'll get sorted or he'll get traded and stuff. Yeah, I think maybe we're the more used to it. How about you, Gal?
Well, I do think it has more to do with the fact that free agency has been something that has been a major staple of American sports, where players earn the right to own the ability to go where they want. And in Europe, until the last few years, like this whole big time players, like no player of Mbappe's status ever ran his contract down. No one like Mo would be waiting at 32 to take their contract to the end of a year. They're going to be 33 years old and wait for people around Europe. Now, medical science, the players are betting on themselves. I kind of like it because the players take control and it's not about the clubs and the big buying powers of the big buying clubs. Like, I don't dislike it. And I think there was someone wrote an article a couple years ago saying, like, I think that this is going to be the era of the free transfer. Like, this is how teams are going to operate. Like, more guys are going to be like Trent and Virgil and Mo and run their contracts down because they have more faith in their own ability to stay healthy, their fitness levels, and their ability to play at this level. So I think the American side of it is because we're more apt to that. So we've dealt with it our whole lives from like, I mean, we have guys now signing 11-year baseball contracts with opt-outs every 3 years that allow them to become free agents and or them to pay the team to keep them for another year. Or, you know, player options, club options. I think my issue with this is exactly what you said to start. There are always words that unless you're willing to parse them out, make these statements outlandish. And love Kazi to death, but he's the one who hangs on, they've never offered me a contract. No one has spoke to me about a contract. That doesn't mean terms haven't been offered. I'll guarantee they have had the frameworks of what a deal looks like if Mo Salah is willing to talk. Contract within this parameter. X to X years, X to X terms.
Yeah, like what do you guys have in mind? Kind of.
Correct. You never supply a contract unless you are so close you think they will accept it. Because in response will be a bigger offer from the player asking for more. So they want to get a parameter. If Mo's saying it's 5 years or I'm not talking, I don't blame the club for not offering anything.
Yeah.
But they've never talked to Mo because they don't talk to players. They talk to agents because that's how professional negotiations work. But he can say they've never offered a contract to me because he's not lying, even if they've offered Remy Abab fucking 18 different ideas around the framework of a deal. I feel
it could have never gotten to that stage. I mean, if what, you know, like what you're saying happened, for example, if the initial conversation is like, we want 5 years or nothing, they're like, ugh, okay, well, we'll talk to you later. And then, you know, just go. And then maybe come back 4, no, 5. Okay, well, I guess we're not, this is not happening. So I can see maybe he doesn't necessarily mean me. The thing that irks me the most, I mean, like Bickler's saying timing, and I get it. That's partially probably true. I think the part that really gets to me is he's really trying to work on the fans more than anything else. Because 3 minutes before that, inside, he had an interview with Sky Sports when he got the man of the match and stuff. He could have said something then and, you know, brought it up then. He didn't say anything there. He did all the regular, it's more important that the team wins, 3 points, league, we have to play one game at a time, blah, blah, blah. Like, he, you know, pressed play and gave all the stereotype stuff. And then on the way out, he was like, hey, who wants to talk to me? I got something to say. And then says that so that it goes to the fans. What kills me is fans who kind of say, oh, this is really going to get on the fans. You are the fucking fan. I mean, if you're letting it get to you, yeah, then it is going to be a pressure point. I guess to me, Bickler, we've talked about this before. This should have never come to this point in the first place in the last year, especially with 3 players. But bear in mind, that was like a different regime that let it get to this point. And Klopp and his buddy, who was in charge at the time, is kind of like didn't act on it last year. And they're the ones who got it to this point. Maybe they had a different long-term plan themselves. We do not know. I guess I am not as worried about it because when the season started, we said, hey, this could become an issue, right? We were worried that it could become an issue. It could be drama come, December, January, blah, blah, blah. Things are going well. So clearly it has not become an issue. You can say chicken or the egg. Maybe it's not becoming an issue because things are going well. But while the players are performing, why the panic? Because isn't it more likely that when somebody gets paid, they're going to we know this, especially American sports over here, contract year is when everybody busts their ass. And then how many times have we said somebody signed the contract and kind of started settling?
I just think the longer it goes on, the more people are going to panic. That's pretty natural, right? I think that's just a natural consequence of what happens when you enter it. And when you enter something and you're getting into unknown territory where, it goes on long enough where people are no longer sure. And, let's face it, they're a couple weeks out from being in territory where they can start negotiating free contracts elsewhere. So I think that's probably why you're seeing a lot of the panic around it. I think you guys nailed it when you talk about we want to put this on FSG, but this is really on a previous regime in terms of this stuff should have been nailed out and these talks should have happened. But there's just a lot of moving parts. And bringing, having a complete ownership over, a complete leadership overhaul on the side. I'm sure there was a part of this organization that was knew that there was going to be some major changes with Michael Edwards hiring his own people and coming back into the fold. And I'm sure that they wanted to pause a lot of these really big pieces until that was solidified and let that kind of plan gel out. So I think there's a reason that these things sort of stayed in. And I just think the longer that we go, I think more this is going to ratchet up and be a talking point, unfortunately, for the side. And I don't think this is at all a distraction for anybody except for the fans. I really do, which is kind of disappointing and unfortunate because we should be talking about what this manager is doing with this side and these players and this 8-point gap and not this nonsense.
And that's the thing. The players, I know we talked about Trent a little bit, but, especially Mo, and definitely not Van Dijk, have not given us reason to say, hey, this contract is affecting their play and stuff, or their commitment, or their aggressiveness and stuff like that. That has not been an issue. I can understand the concern being more than issue. I'm kind of irked and annoyed myself because I really was thinking, and I said this a couple of times, that especially this past international break is when we would have some news. But afterwards, as we were talking about it this morning with Mitush, one thing that comes to mind is I wonder if now that it hasn't happened, Gally, could it be that these guys are kind of holding back on these contracts because ultimately one or two is going to get it and the other one is not? And we don't want to rock the boat by making that happen. If we're going to offer it to Van Dijk, or maybe we're going to offer it to Mo, or maybe not to Trent, whatever the combination is, maybe we're not going to sign all three. I would argue that signing one or two that you really have committed to long-term and not the third is more of a distraction down the road than anything else.
Yeah, I think that might be the case. And to Paul's point, they start signing pre-contracts elsewhere and they want to leave and the story gets leaked, then we'll deal with it, right? We'll figure out then what do we do if we know Trent is leaving for Madrid. I think he'll still start matches from February forward, to be honest. And I think he'll still give everything he has for this club. And that's I saw that today, and I know Kazi corrected himself in our Discord chat because he's I didn't say the players are down tools. It's the fans will turn on them when we have one draw. If the supporters turn on the club because they don't re-sign players and the players are still playing all their heart out on the pitch, shame on the supporters.
Yeah.
Shame on them online. Shame on them in the stands. I genuinely can't be arsed. But to that comment that's on the screen right there, Anfield Road TV saying, "Hi lads, hope you're all well. Hope the deals get wrapped up ASAP." The club, as we all know, has the resources to give them all what they want. No business in the world runs by giving every one of their consumers, partners, or players, employees, all that they want.
And we don't know what they want. That's the problem. We don't know what they want. If Trent really wants, 400,000, 500,000, these numbers that people are throwing around, probably without knowing that Real is offering him or whatever, no rights back is going to be paid, especially in this system that kind of money. Nobody's going to offer Mo 5 years if he wants 5 years. I think, I get the sentiment that, they've earned in terms of what they've done, but still you have to, do it within certain limits to be able to kind of function in the long run, because next year other people going to be extended and you can't put yourself, paint yourself to a corner. I mean, we kind of praise City for doing the balance, apart from cooking the books all the time, but at least selling occasionally and stuff. And now we're seeing, we'll talk about them in a little bit, that they have like a ridiculously aging squad that is maybe catching up to them. But good to see Anfield Road TV, man. Hope you're doing well. As Doc Drone Video says, LFC won't offer Salah a contract. I think we all know if he's 32 and wage demand's too high. Depends on number of years, right? I mean, I know what you guys think, but I think, he probably dictates and earns, going back to what Anfield Road TV was saying, if he wants 350, 400 or whatever, I think he's earned that for 2 years or something like that. But I don't think we're going to be paying that for 4 to 5 years, because he's going to diminish in pace and speed and agility and all that kind of stuff. Bickler, let's start with you.
Yeah.
Like, where would you, I guess, draw the line? Let's put it that way.
Yeah, I think so. I put him on that kind of money on a 2-year deal. If he wants a third, I do a third. Like, I would probably put some sort of third addendum on that contract where he makes a reduced rate. Like, I'm probably not putting him down there on a 3-year deal. If he does a 2 and wants a buffer, maybe. But like, my main thing is like, I would put him on.
He won't take that deal though.
I don't know if he wants. I think he's going to want more than 300K. My thing is like, what can you get him on a weekly basis? And like, we know these contracts are really like heavily like incentive based, right? So what kind of bonuses can we do to buffer that makes sense for this team, right? I think that's the sweet spot in the mix. I think if you're talking 300 plus bonus incentives for like Premier League finishes, Champions League goals, like all those things, those all kind of roll up. I think then you're looking at, you could be looking north of 4 on some of these things. But like, to Gally's point, I think people are assuming that we won't pay 300, and they're not assuming that Mo might be asking for more than like most of us think he's worth.
And I would think he probably is. And really what we're doing right now, so here's the problem. I think we talked about this a couple of weeks ago. We don't know slot, right? We only know what we've seen so far. So we don't know if we're playing like this right now, like where Mo is really critical, right? Everything is going through Mo. You look at any, like the passing scheme where the passes are going and stuff overall, the flow of the ball, everything is going through Mo for the most part. But we don't know because, if this is how he wants to play, or this is how he wants to play with this current squad as is. And
do you know what I wish we had? I wish we had a counter on all player contracts since the beginning. Like, let's go back like 10 years. I wish we could go back on a counter and talk about every single player contract in the amount of times people said FSG won't pay that, and we do, versus when we don't. I think it's probably more we do than we don't on these players. Like, I think it's interesting that we all, like, a lot of us have this preconceived notion that like this organization lives on a shoestring sort of budget where we like to sell high, buy low. And I don't think this, people don't want to recognize the fact that we are 2 seasons removed from having the second highest payroll in the entire league.
Third highest wage bill overall.
Yeah.
In the last 10 years in the Premier
League. I feel like
League.
we really just need to get away from that and just, put that one.
And by the way, we paid higher wages over the last 10 years in the Premier League than Manchester City did to their players. Chelsea and Manchester United are 1 and 2. Liverpool is 3rd.
Yeah. I mean that, and just
not
that
transfer fee
should tell you that that doesn't guarantee anything. But Steve, I'm marking this, man. I'm putting on the spots, and I'm taking your word for it. If it doesn't come back, I'm gonna come back.
You need the Miss Cleo thing to pop up.
November 25th.
Steve, just so you know, our Prince, he takes some bleeping receipts, let me tell you. We will have this thing clipped up. This thing will be on an Opus video. We'll have a reel of your freaking all three will sign guaranteed and us laughing at it before
if it does happen, we do need to make an American Scouser shirt with just the screenshot of C. Claridge.
Just like Steve telling us on November 25th.
That would be awesome, actually.
I was a lot more confident, kind of like Steve was, but not as much at the moment, to be honest with you. I mean, we've complained about this. You know, Serzi says fans are panicking because this is nothing new. Lost Genie, Milner, Bobby, Matip. I mean, I don't know about Matip, but we had to make a decision to. Serzi is just sore because we picked Mo over Mane more than anything else. But aside from that, we have talked about in the past about letting people go in the last year of their contract and stuff like that. But let's face it, that was, I mean, at the time at least, we felt like that was more on Klopp wanted to keep the guy, even if it is last year contract, even if he's not going to resign. And to be fair to him, all these guys, and you can put like Emre Can in that thing, like Genie in that thing, people who we did not resign, and we felt like Klopp is the one who kept them, did bust their butts till the very last whistle and played as hard as they could for Klopp. So obviously he knew something, but obviously financially it's not always the good decision. Ravi's in the house. Raya, what's going on? Andrew Roth says, can you imagine in 2 years' time with Slot if he continue performing this well? He needs to bring his own players, and we need to pre-plan the departures. Exactly. I mean, I think that's, you know, we talked about a lot over here in terms of this should have never come to this stage. But now that we are here, I guess my biggest thing, which Jesus, I was hoping to just talk about this for 5 minutes, and this is where we ended up. But my biggest thing is things are going well. I can understand everybody going apeshit and losing their mind if these players were not playing, or, you know, they looked out of it, their mind is somewhere else. No, like everybody is busting their butts and everything is going well. So let's get to that. Everything going freaking well, Gally. 8-point leads with a chance to go up 11. And obviously we're going to be playing with Real midweek. Let's talk about the game real quick from this weekend. What do you make of that Southampton game? My paranoid ass has been warning for this all week last week, and it was scary.
It was scary. I mean, to be honest, let's be real. The first goal comes off of what could be a bad call, could be a questionable VAR decision, whatever you want to say, was the foul in the box, on the line, close enough. You know, it's a judgment call. If he doesn't call that a penalty, do they score in the first half? And if we go in one,
I don't think it gets reversed, by the way, right? Like if
it wouldn't get reversed. If it's called not a penalty on the field, it's not a penalty. Yeah. Because it's called a penalty, I think rightfully by the rules of VAR, it shouldn't be overturned. And I'm fine with it. And then Kelleher saves it, but can't keep out the rebound. But my point of this is it's not like we got run off the pitch. Now, I didn't love that they didn't respond great after the half at 1-1. But we get hit on a counter. We've seen that a few times this year where a team finally gets to play out from the back and they hit us and they get that second. I never felt like we weren't going to win the game once we scored the second. I won't lie. As soon as Mo put the second one in, I honestly thought we'd win 4-2. I thought we'd get another one after that, and it felt like we would, and God knows Mo was trying everything he could, both posts, the crossbar, and every other option he could. But to me, it wasn't a great performance, but it was kind of indicative of what I expected, because I think when you come off an emotional play like City losing the way they did, you're going on the road, you're playing a bottom-rung team, you got to play Madrid midweek, and you're coming off the international break where we never routinely play in sync coming out of those international breaks. It's kind of a get-right game, in my opinion. You don't play your best. You go on the road. You get 3 points. You extend your lead at the top. And you just remind everyone that, like, even when you're not playing your best, you're still the best team in the league.
Yeah, I mean, it wasn't easy. It was never going to be easy. I almost felt like when we got the goal, I don't know what you think, Bickler, but like Van Dijk pulling up like that. I mean, first of all, it's horrible defending by Robertson, which I feel like we really have some issues at left back over here. I thought it was going to be in resurgence, but that's a horrible play by Robertson. And it's almost like he makes the tackle because he thinks it's outside the box. And he says, you know what, I'm going to stop this right here, right now. But Van Dijk never pushes up like that unless we have a huge lead or we're chasing the game. It almost felt like when we got that goal, they got a bit overconfident.
Yeah, maybe. I just think you kind of ride runs like that if you're a Southampton team. Like, I think you can ride those runs, but I think at the end of the day, I think if you're playing a side that has like that much more talent than you do across the entire pitch, like I think the Southampton side for the most part is a championship team, right? And I think if you're playing a side like Liverpool long enough and they continue to put enough pressure on you, those opportunities are going to come. And I think that's what we just did in that second half. I think we just did a good job of continually putting them in a position where like talent would just supersede their quality. And I think like my thing about matches like this is like to Galley's point, like we never play well after an international break. I always worry about what we look like. I can't remember the last time they came off an international break and really looked sharp. So like I always worry about these matches, and like we've spent the last 4 years talking about what makes City great is they can have an off week and still win still get 3 points. So for me, like this is just more confirmation that the side is headed in the right direction.
And in some ways, psychologically,
I agree.
I mean, I was saying this morning, Gally. I feel like, this is better. This kind of a win is better going into the City game as opposed to going over to Southampton and winning 3-0, 4-0. I think you're going to have a team that's going to have to realize that, hey, it's not that freaking easy. We're going to have to go full speed kind of thing. I mean, obviously, City game's motivation will be different. It'll be at Anfield, so things will be a lot different. I guess my biggest concern watching the game, and this is the first time in a long time, I can't even remember the last time where I was not able to. I watched the first half on the phone, and the second half I was doing this referee clinic thing because I just want to grow up and be like Coot one day. But so I did not have access to the phone. It's driving me nuts. They're teaching me this. Mind you, we're talking about a penalty.
Now we know who pulled the fire alarm, Gally.
Yeah, I was just going to say cocaine's a hell of a drug.
The irony is they're talking about like what happens if it's on the line. Is it in the box or not? I'm like, yeah, I know the freaking answer to this because I just watched it before I got in here. But I found out, happened to have a guy who was from Southampton in our group. Because when I said that, he was like, at halftime, he told me it was 3-2. So I watched the game afterwards. So it was with a more calmer mind when you watch it like that. It's less emotions. But I still say, man, I mean, it's like Bradley's defending is a huge concern. As a guy who's played sweeper, and that's the closest you get to probably playing sweeper in that play. That is horrible defending for him to run over there half-ass and then be like, oh, you got this, the Szoboszlai, and try to run back. You're not going to get back there. You either go there, help Szoboszlai win the ball or foul or whatever, or you don't go there. You already see Szoboszlai going there, and you kind of keep tracking back and cover the space. Do we have an issue at left back and right back? Obviously, Trent is going to be back soon. But is that more of a concern now than we had with like midfield and stuff when we were talking about January, I don't know, like 2 months ago?
Well, I mean, I do feel like the real question really in this probably should be, did Klopp's systems protect the fact that no Liverpool fullback can defend? Because all we did was rave about these guys when Klopp was here, whether it was Bradley, Trent, Robertson, even Tsimikas at times because of them going forward. And maybe that was because we asked guys like Genie and Henderson to pick up the lunch pail and do their job for them half the time, and Van Dijk and Konate and Gomez in 18-19, right, to be such great players. And this was my argument earlier today when we were talking about contracts. I don't want to go back there, but like people were like, give Trent whatever he wants. He's 26 and Scouse. I'm like, he wants $400,000 a week. He's a right back who can't defend in a system that doesn't act the right back to do anything but fucking defend. Like, no, we're not. Yeah. No. Like,
and that's why, when we were talking about it earlier, like, give them what they want. Yeah, but I mean, what do we want? I mean, we want something too. We want value.
But I think you make a great point, because I said the same thing watching the match. Man, I love Connor Bradley, and I think he's a really, really talented player. I just think sometimes we ruin these kids when they have like 3 or 4 good performances and then put in a man of the match performance like he did at Stamford Bridge. And we convinced him he was a world-class right back just waiting for his chance to play for Trent. And in his first start of the year without Trent, he went out there and literally put in an Alberto Moreno performance. He was poor. All levels. In my opinion, the only thing he did well was he did what Trent hasn't done all year long. He actually overlapped with Mo and got the ball and took it to the end line and actually cut it back a couple times, which I really liked. But again, even a few times in attacking areas, I feel like he made bad decisions on the ball. He left Soboslai out a couple times on like square passes, and Soboslai had to like take fouls or tackle guys to like basically not lose the ball in a bad spot where we probably would have criticized Soboslai or Jones for losing the ball. But it was really Bradley's decision for giving him the ball there. And I just think I think you're right. I think we do have an issue. I think we're going to see Joe Gomez playing fullback more than we expected.
I almost feel like it's a better fit for the system. I mean,
I agree.
Like, especially because you're not expecting to push up that much. I feel like Gomez is a better fit right now. I mean, I love Bradley as a player. I mean, as Doc says, and I agree. I mean, he has some great games. He's quality. I mean, you see him in the national team and stuff too. I guess we're going back to the same thing. I don't know if what he is good at is what Slot wants out of that position. So him pushing up, and here's the thing, is obvious. I mean, nobody's Trent in terms of the final ball into the box, right? That's what makes Trent special. There are a lot of times, and we saw this in preseason. We saw it last year when Trent was out. There were a lot of situations where Bradley had the ball all the time in the world to put the ball in the box, and it wasn't just the ball you needed, because nobody's going to be. I mean, it's not fair to compare him to Trent when it comes to that. I think he doesn't have that final ball yet, but he is young, as Doc says, Bickler, so he might improve on that over time. We did say that with Trent, and Trent has improved overall defensively, especially like 1v1 and stuff like that. When you look at that game, do you take it as like a cumulative performance, or do you see certain spots, like I was saying, where you're like, man, we need to do something on this. This is going to be a continuous problem.
I guess I'm kind of in the middle here. I think there's cause for concern for sure, right? I mean, when's the last time we saw a traditional fullback in our system? Was like Nathaniel Klein, before he so it's like, I think there is some cause for concern off the base of that performance. Just like what Gally was saying is like, I thought that his decision-making was really bad all over the place. And it wasn't just like when he was on the ball, we talked about the decision to go with Soboslai or stay with the far post runner. He does really neither. And I think, but I think also those things come with experience, right? And I think we forget at sometimes that this kid's a teenager and he's going to have up and down performances, and this is, going to happen. And I think what made a player like Trent so special when he broke into the side is that he had good performances 9 out of 10, and that never really stopped, right? Yeah. Until I think really the last few years we've seen more the up and down from him, right? And that's what made him kind of special as a younger player. So I think there is some cause for concern there. I think it's interesting. I think when we looked at Slot's system for the first time, when we first saw his system implemented, the first thing that we noticed was how much he relied on his wide area players. We were like, hey, he subs the wings.
Yes.
4 of those subs are the wings on both sides. So that leads me to believe that there's probably some plans in the work that are going to get addressed this summer. Because I don't think that you can be that reliant on those wide areas and be happy with what you're rotating right now. I just don't believe that.
Yeah, I mean, we're probably not going to find out. I think Amphero TV was talking about earlier. We're not going to find out what he really wants until he gets 2-3 of, his kind of players on there kind of to do the work, especially in those 2 positions, Gallion, right back and left back.
I think it's 2-3 windows before this side really becomes his side. And, everyone keeps talking about you can't let Mo go. You can't let Mo go. And I know we talked about it all morning long in Discord, and you guys did it on your morning show. But I genuinely think that this is what's showing that this guy is such a world-class coach. Don't call him a manager. You'll get yelled at. He's a world-class coach because he was told, hey, you're going to do it with this group of players this year. we'll buy you this Zubamendi guy. And the guy turns him down. And he's like, all right, well, we'll get you this Italian guy who doesn't play. But like, this is what you got. And he's like, okay. And this is what I'm going to do with it. And we're going to try to win. And then when we have a bad first half, I'll adapt and we'll have a better second half and we'll accumulate points. And I don't think he thought he was going to be 8 points clear on November 25th.
I certainly didn't.
No, I think he thought we were going to fight, scratch, and tooth and claw and nail our way to 4th. And maybe we'll finish 5th and hope the coefficiency gets us a Champions League spot. Like, I think that was the goal. Get back in Champions League, compete for a cup. The goals have changed now. But I think he's doing it with another player's roster. And I think he's even using tactics because he's such a good coach that fit to the players he has, not the players he wants. And I think if he could clear 4 of these guys out and bring in 4 new guys, we'd be shocked at what 4 players came and went. Oh, I'm telling you right now, I think number 66 would be one of the players who would go.
And I wouldn't be shocked if Mo wasn't one of the other ones.
I've said it before. Everyone gets mad at me when I say it. I think he wants Mo, Darwin, and 66 out, and he wants to invest in his type of players. One to be out wide. He wants to play through a central striker, and he wants to actually play with a form of his number 10. I think the reason that Szoboszlai is required to run so much is because the other players in the midfield aren't doing as much work as he wants them to do. And I think he would rather play with a more attack-minded midfielder and like off the striker role. And it might end up being a Gakpo type player. It might be Diaz on the right. It might be a brand new player. But I genuinely do think this is where it's going.
Yeah, see, the Mo part I'm not sure about, and I don't agree with, because based on how much we're using it right now, but I know if we're using it because he is there and he's our most creative guy. I mean, he's the creator basically ultimately on the side, and I know that's why we're going through there, or basically perfectly fits what we're doing in some ways.
You might be perfectly right, and it might be that I'm way off, or it might be that he wants to play through his number 9 and his striker like he always has, but he doesn't have faith in any of the number 9s that he has there to actually be able to lead this line. So he's playing through his right wing because his right wing is the most talismanic player at the club.
Yeah, and you can get more than just 1v1 taking on a defender. You can get that and creativity at the same time. I think you're seeing what we get out of Gakpo in that sense too. And obviously Diaz came in and did well again. I guess, and here's the thing, Bickler. It hasn't been, we're up this much. I know like City and Arsenal are struggling, especially City compared to normal. But we were talking about it this morning as well, that we're not where we are because the other guys are struggling and our point total looks good. This team is constantly freaking winning. I mean, this is like a great record. If City was not in the mess that they're in, we'd be about even. Maybe we wouldn't be 8 points ahead of them, but we would still be challenging them for the title.
100%.
Yeah, for sure. And like he's answered every sort of question. Like my major question was like, okay, so we've seen him be able to slow this down, control a game, bleed clock out, really manage a win. But what does it look like when the side falls behind? Does he have the ability to make tactical changes that will win a game outside of just subbing on more attacking power, right? And I think he's proven to me that he can do that. And not only can he do it through like smart subs, right, but he can do it by changing game plans, really. And I think for all the things that we loved about Jurgen, I think that was one of the things that he could probably be criticized for, right? Like I think Jurgen just like, his answer to like chasing a game was just to crank it from 9 to 11, right? Like at least that's what it felt like. So, yeah, this is definitely a side that has gone out and won this thing. Yeah, I was going to say, Timic, you cannot be on.
Sorry, I had to switch over.
Yeah. Cannot put you in
comedy.
Nobody puts baby in the corner, okay? Nobody puts baby in the 2 seat.
I feel like an old golden retriever. His water dish got moved on him.
Yeah, he literally went into the co-host chair and he was like, whoa, what is going on?
No, the comedy is I had to run over because as we're recording this, I hear Stitch and Leo going just ape shit downstairs, like all excited. And usually, like, maybe UPS driver shows up or something like that. They're going crazy, like running around, like growling, barking, running to the other side. So apparently, I get a message meanwhile from Layla that the screen door was locked, so they can't get in. And obviously, he knows Layla's out there. I'm sure they opened the main door, so they were going ape shit. I had to run downstairs and let people in the house. Let the people in. Okay, Real game. I want to ask this real quick. What do you guys want to see? And what do you guys think we will see? I mean, we kind of know it's not going to be some ridiculous rotation. But obviously, the weekend game is a lot more important. We put ourselves in a situation, Galdi, where, by winning the games we did, we talked about this, I think, last Monday. You put yourself in a situation where you can afford a draw or whatever. Do you kind of play accordingly with the weekend in mind? Or I know, when we were doing the watch along, I know like Tamer was bringing up a point, and I thought it was a good point, where there's something to be said about continuing winning ways and not doing a hiccup. Because everybody out there playing will know why that 11 is out there if you rotate too much.
So I mean, I think the main rotation pieces, the two that sat of your like first 11 competitors, right, is Diaz and McAllister, right? I think they both come in for Gakpo and most likely for Jones in this matchup. Maybe Jones, you kick forward and you let him start in the Szoboszlai role if you want to give Szoboszlai a little break. I personally think if anyone needs a break, it's Gravenberch. Like, I might think about resting his legs, but I don't love the idea of a McAllister, Jones, Szoboszlai midfield. That just doesn't feel balanced to me. I think Tsimikas will probably start over Robertson, not just because he wasn't great on the weekend against Southampton, but because I think Tsimikas could feel a little hard done with not starting that match.
Is he ready? Because I heard he was like hurt in training or whatever.
Oh, so I didn't realize he had a knock or was hurt. So if he's hurt, then I think Robertson definitely starts. Outside of that, I don't think there'll be much more rotation. Is Jota back yet? Like, when is the man who fell down and bruised his chest going to play again?
I like how you guys downplay Jota injuries. Have you ever had the bruised rib? It hurts like a mofo.
Yes, I have. But, if I get a bruised rib because I dive trying to get a foul on another player, pull him down on top of me, it was, I'm sorry. It's one of the things the Polish Prince is often over the top in his criticism of Jota. He was spot on that. That was a foul on Jota. 100%. Oh, absolutely. It was a foul on Jota. He throws himself to the ground, pulls the defender down, and somehow has been out for a month with a bruised
I thought they said he was starting to practice. I don't know. I haven't seen him in like the practice photos.
My point was,
but he's not going to be there this week.
If he's not fit to play, then I guess you have to start Darwin through the middle. Because I think the manager has made it clear he doesn't like playing Gakpo through the center. He wants Gakpo to play on the left. He likes the role. So I think it's Darwin, Diaz, Mo. I think the midfield probably picks itself. And then I think in the back, you're probably going to get, I hate saying it like this, and you guys are going to get mad. You probably get Konate and Virgil every game until one of them gets hurt.
I think especially because of the game itself, I think, if it was any other Champions League game, you can see some more rotation and stuff like that, Bickler. But it feels like because it's Madrid and because we have the history, the players, one thing the Polish Prince was talking about this morning, and I think that's a valid point, is the fact that the players that are playing have a history with this club. It's not only like, oh, we have a history and a rivalry or whatever. The guys out there are the guys who have lost to Madrid and would want to, face them and, hopefully take some kind of a mini revenge kind of an ordeal. Having said that, do you think we do try it out almost like our best 11 for both games and say, hey, 3 days rest, get what you can?
I think it's probably going to be a pretty strong lineup. If it was what I want, it would be ridiculous rotation. You'd know nobody out there, and we would see you guys on the weekend. But I think it'll probably be pretty strong. We talk about Gravenberch needing a break. I think, the one needs, to me, it's like we talked about the importance of Soboslai doing all the running in the midfield. Dude's played 270 minutes plus of football in 8 days. Like, to me, like, you got to give him a rest at some point. I also think he would be somebody that if I'm in a match like this, I would love him off the bench because you could put him in multiple places. He's going to do the running late in the game that you need. So if it were me, I would probably sit Soboslai in this one. I do agree that I think Diaz McAllister will be in here. I guess that question, it opens up the question for me. Like, this is a great game to play a player like Endo. I know nobody wants to hear that, and I don't think he will start. But for me, I would not be upset if I saw him in there.
That wouldn't bother me.
Yeah, it wouldn't bother me either, especially again because. I mean, here's the problem, though, right? If you're going to see this as, and I know nobody wants to, and nobody wants to hear it, but almost as a throwaway game, you probably want to throw it away full force, like Bickler is saying. And I think, Gally, that's not going to happen. I wouldn't mind it either, kind of like what Bickler is saying, but I just don't think that's going to happen. And if you're making if you're not doing that, then you got to still put out an 11 that's designed to win a game and not designed to protect you for the weekend. Because then it's like the optics of it are bad.
Yeah, you're not going to go out there and start Endo and Morton at the base. Like that's not what's going to happen. Like, I'd have no problem with it. I mean, I was with Kazi. Kazi was like, win against Southampton and send out the under 21s. And everyone just was crazy. It went crazy on him.
But not even if you lose, it's not like a loss that's going to affect momentum or whatever like that. You were like, whatever. We just came out there, but it's not going to happen.
And I get the whole idea about the players that want to, right the wrong versus Madrid. I think these players would rather another Premier League medal and like have healthy superstar players through the holiday festive fixtures and put the pressure on City next weekend and go full force. Like, I think these guys would rather that than, no, we beat Madrid in November in a meaningless game at home because we're both going to make it through to the final 8 no matter what. And I think that's what this has written all over it. Like, the bigger part of this is if you were to beat Madrid, you might really force Madrid to play into that 16 to 20 or 9 to 24 playoff, which would be kind of fun, just forcing that on them. But again, like, we're a club that should be bigger about our own ambitions and not hurting another big club's ambitions. So to me, in this moment, we're going to go for it because this manager has shown that's what he does. I think we should rotate more than we will. I also think that's kind of his hands kind of tied when he doesn't really have a fit Harvey. He doesn't have, a Jota, and he doesn't have another attacking right winger. So, like, it's not like he has all these options to rotate out to either. He's got to hurt Trent. And let's be real, he is completely afraid of playing Jarrell Kwanzaa in a match for Liverpool. Because when he puts him on the pitch, all he does is complain about what he does and sub him off as a substitute. The guy has been subbed off twice this year, and he's only made one start. That's not a good sign.
Yeah, no, it is not. I don't think, he rolls. I mean, I don't think you want to do that. His
career may be somewhere else. He might be playing at West Ham.
Kwanzaa, put him on a side with like Bradley and be like, hey, here's Mbappe, by the way. You guys have fun. I just don't think that's a good way to set up the kid either. So I would think we're going to start. So, because here's the thing. I mean, there is something to be said about putting even more pressure on a weekend game, Bickler, if you do a full rotate. I mean, I go back to, remember when we played the good old-fashioned, the famous Barcelona game where they did not play midweek. None of them played midweek. And there was like, oh, they're all rested and stuff like that. So there's something to be said about if you rest everybody, you're almost putting in unnecessary amount of additional pressure on a team to perform on a weekend. They already have reason to perform. Why not just ride the momentum?
I don't know if I buy that in a weekend going into a City match. Can you really put more pressure on a team? Like, I think you just are what you are going into the City match. Like, and I don't think that puts any more pressure, like having not played midweek, right? Like, I don't know any of those guys that are going to go into the place City and be like, okay, I feel more pressure because I didn't play on Wednesday, right, or Thursday. So I think For me, the concern is, what is the side that I can put out here that gives me the most amount of available minutes to my best 11 on the weekend? Like, that's how I approach that. And I think there are players that you're going to have to look at, like a Gravenberch or a Soboslai, that you're going to have to make some concessions on and be really smart. And maybe the answer to that is they play half. They play a half and then they come out, like something like that. But I think I don't care what it looks like or how it's done. I think my thing is I just want to see our best 11 on that pitch on the weekend and have as much rest midweek for those players as possible.
Yeah, in an ideal scenario, because honestly, I have not had the Champions League game that I was slightly like this in the Leverkusen game, but now that we won that one too, I'm very indifferent about this one, Gally. Is like, I would not care what happens in terms of scoreline, but I guess I would worry more if you put out a strong lineup and then, I guess if you tie, it's how you tie, and if you win, it's how you win, or if you lose, how you lose, more than the final score. But at the end of the day, it just feels like, if it was in Madrid, it wouldn't even be a conversation. So why make 100%. It a conversation?
If this was Atletico Madrid,
yeah,
people would be like, rotate. Don't let them kick you all game long.
Yeah.
I honestly think if this was AC Milan, people would be like, just rotate. But because it's Real Madrid and they beat us in 2 Champions League finals and they knocked us out of 2 knockout rounds and they clearly beat us once during a knockout stage. But damn it, I learned something tonight. But no, I do think I think it is more about being Madrid. And Paul made a comment, or you might have made a comment, I think the worst news of the day was actually what broke late, which is that Vinny Jr.'s out, which probably means Mbappe's going to play through the left. And Real Madrid's finally going to see the player they signed for the highest amount of money.
I read this weekend they swapped.
Oh, did they? I don't know.
I didn't watch the game. I just saw the highlights just to see what the hell Arda did. But I heard this weekend they swapped. But
so
I have not watched the game.
Vinny played through the middle and Mbappe went out left?
Yeah.
So basically, you know what that is? That's basically there was literally a conversation in Ancelotti's office for 5 hours between all of Mbappe's people. And finally, he was like, if we just move Vinny Jr. to the middle, and then Vinny Jr. just walked in and was like, bleep you, F you, I hate all of you. And then walked out into the middle and was like, I'm still better than him, I don't care. Because, to me, those 2 egos are never going to work in the same side, which is part of the reason why I'm kind of disappointed that they're not playing together. Because, part of the fun of watching Real Madrid right now is watching the 2 of them hate each other the whole time they're on the pitch, and watching Rodrigo just run around and look at everyone and be like, why don't you guys pass the ball to me? I'm the best player in this entire system. Just give me the ball.
This weekend, from what I saw from the highlights, that was Arda doing that. Because with Rodrigo, and that's the thing, we're getting them at a time where they have a lot of injuries, and
especially at the back,
significant injuries. Yeah,
especially at the back,
and there was a lot of players out there, midfield, they're up top, so it's a good time to get them. I mean, like Ravi says, just have to roll through and fight, and I think that's what we're going to do. I don't see Slots kind of taking this as, we'll just make it a throwaway game or whatever deal.
You convinced me. Let's start Nat Phillips. Put your freaking head through it, kid. We're going to win this thing.
He puts his head everywhere. Is he still around?
How awesome would it be? How awesome would it be if Wednesday at freaking 1:45, the lineup rolls through and the image of the person is Nat Phillips?
They probably don't even have the photo. It would be like a silhouette, an empty slot that says Nat Phillips.
It'd be him in Davies' jersey.
I don't even know if he's in the Champions League squad. Yeah, I just don't see as
he's
much.
He's homegrown. He can play in any squad.
Yeah, puts his head everywhere. Okay,
Oh,
as we
sorry.
wrap up over here, let's wrap up with the predictions. Obviously, we'll talk about the City game throughout the week once, especially this Wednesday game is over on the Thursday Night Podcast on Friday. So let's do the Real Madrid game. Bickler, give me your prediction for this game.
I say we squeak out a relatively. I think it's going to be a rather dull affair. I'm going to go 1-0. Good guys.
Really? Okay.
That's a great result. I wish I was that confident. I'm going to say 2-2 draw. You know, a good old scored draw, Real Madrid, Liverpool style, goals back and forth, maybe some drama, bad call here or there. But I think we find a way to get a result, and I think the good guys keep trucking. I think, you know, Schlott talks so much about the loss against Forest. I feel like he talks about it that much in, like, team preparation training sessions. Like, I don't think this man wants to lose. I think he'll do everything he can to at least secure a draw in this. We keep our perfect record in the Champions League, and hopefully it keeps us top of that table.
Shelton is going with 1-1. I was going to say 2-2, but you guys convinced me, damn it. We'll win this thing 3-2 because Schlott will play to win. And
I like
we'll it. 3-2, and then I'll start worrying about the City game. Honestly, I am not even as worried. It's going to be a lean back and watch game, which will be Thanksgiving for me. It'll be Wednesday. So it'll be the Thanksgiving day in the Uras household over here where we celebrate Thanksgiving. But until then, that will be it for us this week. Do not forget to tune in tomorrow night for the panel show. Should be a lot of interesting talk about like City, Arsenal, United, the new regime, and all that kind of stuff. And obviously the Premier League show that you guys recorded right before will air tomorrow as well. Do tune in then. 8 o'clock Central, 9 o'clock Eastern for the panel show. We should have like a full squad tomorrow, I think. And hopefully we'll be talking after the Real Madrid win and this title run will continue. We might even talk about Mo's contract. God damn it.
Oh.
You'll never know. But have a great week, everybody.